I'm Melissa Shanahan, and this is the Velocity Work Podcast, episode number 53, in the second of a three-part series called Behind the Curtain of Mastery Groups. Well, hello and welcome back. Welcome to part 2 of Behind the Curtain of Mastery Groups. We got really great feedback about last week, which was exciting. It was such a fun project to put together, and now I'm excited to release to you part 2 and next week part 3. Part 2 is really more the nuts and the bolts. So today you'll hear the June Mastery Groups, the sprint month that they took part in. Those participants talk about Monday Map, Friday Wrap, which is all a part of the class that you have the opportunity to watch. I recommend that you do. It's something that I need to watch over and over, time and time again, to keep me sharp and fresh. Go to velocitywork.com and you will see a button for free masterclass. You can click on that and then opt in to get access to the class. The cool thing about that masterclass that I taught was that the people who are drawn to that kind of a class, it's a very specific type of person who wants to optimize, they're doing all right. They could probably stay at the same level that they've been and life is good. But, if you ended up at the end of your road, at the end of this life, and look back and man, I left so much on the table. If that's you don't want to say that. You don't want to say that you left so much on the table. Then this is the kind of work that it takes to really optimize and keep going to the next level for yourself. And not because you're chasing something, but just because you want to see what you're made of. And so it's exciting. The kind of people who opt in, I know they're typically just the most fun people that I think there are out there to work with. So if that sounds like you, go opt into that class and use the material and optimize and really get curious about how you're showing up and how you can show up differently and better. And so I hope you enjoy it. So this time in that class, you'll hear about Monday Map, Friday Wrap, and the lessons that were learned, which they had to report on every day in a sprint. And you have to report on the lesson that's been learned about how you operated, what worked, what didn't work, realizations that you had about yourself or about how you set things up, whatever. But you'll hear today us talk about that. So to make sure that there's clarity, as we get into this, Monday Map is something you're supposed to do at the beginning of the week that really schedules out your week. And your job is to really honor that plan. There's more information in the class. Friday Wrap is a chance for you to take a step back and reflect on the week and identify your top accomplishments, identify some of the biggest lessons that you learned that you want to carry forward. And it gives you a chance to reflect on things so that you can improve moving forward. So that's the Friday Wrap. And then lessons learned are, like I mentioned, it's just what you've realized, what your eyes are open to, what you want to carry forward, blah, 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 blah. So you will hear me refer to lessons learned in this, or sometimes I'll say their quotes because it's really a quote that they gave me. It's just the lesson that they learned. It's a quote. So sometimes I'll refer to it as a quote. Sometimes it'll be your top lesson or your top lesson learned. And we'll go through some of those with the participants and hear what they have to say about them. So that's a pretty cool part as well. So get ready to dig in and listen to part 2 of Behind the Curtain of Mastery Groups.
Biggest things I got out of this was being a lot more specific really about my planning. For me, at least, like a to-do list is pretty useless because it's just got a bunch of stuff on there and it's just got sort of high-level things like finish brief. I mean, that involves a whole bunch of different things that I don't really think about. So to break them down and identify each specific thing that needs to go on, and it removes an awful lot of decision making too. So I don't have to. So you don't have to like start with what you need to do first.
One thing we talk about in this course is how important planning is. People don't take planning seriously enough. And because of that, they're kind of at the whim of the world. Even though they've built a good business, it doesn't mean that they really wish that things would carry on where they are at the effect of what's going on outside of them. It's really starting to take control and make a plan and honor your plan. And so that's what you're listening to Walter, some of his takeaways around how serious he should take planning and how much that has shifted things for him. Everybody that's taken part in this course essentially sings the same tune. That's been such a helpful part and so worth the accountability to stick with that. And it's always a work in progress. There is no sense of perfection. It's progress, not perfection. You get better and better at planning and better at honoring your plan.
Until I put this in place, I didn't realize how little I stuck to those dedicated times. And it wasn't just a lack of dedication. I would say, I'm going to work on X task. And while I was in the middle of it, a client would call. And I know they needed me. Why? Because they were calling me. So they must meet me right then. But now one of the things you say a lot is I honor my calendar. My clients were to listen to this, they would be familiar with my I see you calling emails. Is when I'm in the middle of a task and I see someone calling, I don't ignore my client, but I honor my calendar by sending them a note saying, I see you calling. I will be available at X time. And we make a time to call then. So they get my response, but I still honor my calendar. It wasn't possible to do before because I wasn't really keeping the dedication of every day going back to the baseline. Are you doing what you promised yourself that you would do to honor your calendar? Once that becomes a habit, you get better at setting those expectations and the momentum builds on itself.
Now, for some of you listening, it's easy to hear what these participants are saying and think about your day-to-day, the working in the business. But remember, a big piece of what we're working on is not just getting control of your day-to-day with your lawyering, but also how to make headway on the things that are so important to you that always seem to get pushed off, the on the business work. Well, that is something we take into consideration. And as you heard in the last episode, I really push and work with the participants to constrain down to one thing they're going to focus on that's on the business work. And their job is to make headway on it day after day after day, bit by bit by bit. And that adds up very quickly to a result. And Gordon touches on this idea of constraining down. Yes, it's awesome to have that singular focus so that you can accomplish more, make more headway with something and get that sense of completion. But not only does it just kind of free up your mind to be able to do that, it's also so much easier to schedule what you're going to do each step of the way towards completion.
It was nice to go through, have 1 month that's focused on a particular topic. So that'd be point number one, would be that it was regular effort over the course of 4 weeks on one issue. Whereas I think there's a element of distractibility that I go, oh, I'm going to work on the next project. Oh, I'm going to go work on this. Or you just run out of steam, or you hit a roadblock and you're not sure how to get through it. So it was kind of, I think the difference and one of the benefits that you brought to the table, and I'd encourage you not to change this, would be to do that work before the mastery group to really hone in and focus in on what you want to do. Mm-hmm. And it's not even that one idea is more than the other, but you got to pick one.
Yeah.
Right. And I really like that part of it. That sort of forced me to have that reflective time to say, well, yeah, there's 8 things I want to do. Well, no, you can only do one, Gord. And you forced me into saying, well, pick one. And you challenged me to say, well, why that one? Right. So, I mean, those were good questions that I wasn't asking myself.
Okay. So participants, once they know what the on the business thing is that they're going to focus on, they've constrained down to that. Plus they have all this other stuff on their plate. When they sit down to do their Monday map, their job is to empty their brain. Your brain is not meant for storage. It's meant for processing. So get everything out of your head and onto paper. And then next to each item that you have listed down that needs to be done, you put the amount of time you're going to give yourself to get that thing accomplished. It might be 20 minutes, it might be 120 minutes, but you put the amount of time you're going to give yourself. And when you do that, then it allows you to schedule it very responsibly into your calendar. And then your job is to get it done within the amount of time that you've got it done. And this is a hard thing for people to wrap their heads around because there's all this like, well, I don't know how long it's going to take. What if it takes longer? No, decide how long it's going to take and schedule it and get it done. Ty did this really well. And here he shares a little bit about that experience.
In the actual day-to-day of the work, I think one thing that I have found is, if you had asked me months ago if I had a problem with perfectionism, like, no, I can move quickly through things. I totally am a perfectionist. It's totally a problem. And by setting these time issues and making myself honor the commitment I made, you have to get to a point of good enough. And thinking about where diminishing returns are and thinking about working through projects, it's like I start something. If I told myself I have to get it done in an hour, I'm doing it in an hour. And there have been a few rare occasions of doing something and I think about it and I actually go back and improve it and it works out that way. It's better that I went back, but 9 times out of 10, it's setting the time commitment what I want to do it and sticking to the time commitment. It's good enough. Nobody knows the difference. And I can keep moving and I can operate faster and I don't have to spend so much time tied up in my head. There was this in a newsletter quote of a lawyer who said he was advising young law school graduates whether to go to investment banking or law firms. He says, it depends. Do you want to spend all of your time formatting PowerPoints for the perfect fonts that no one will ever look at? Or do you want to obsess over the placement of a comma inside or outside of quotation marks that no one will care about? I mean, he's being facetious there, but it is kind of the way I think a lot of lawyers think, is you get so focused on the myopic little tasks and things like, again, blue booking. How do I format this? Nobody cares. Nobody cares how you format it. And by forcing these constraints on yourself and forcing yourself to work faster, you just get more done. And I have not seen a drop in performance or results. I just see, honestly, I see my calendar freeing up and I feel like I have more time.
Yeah. And you're getting more done all at the same time. You're getting more done in less time. When you first sit down to do a Monday map, first one, it feels foreign. It feels kind of hard. But you commit to it and you do the steps and you get through it. And then you honor your plan for the week. And then you show up again next week. And, people have to find their groove with it. And I think there's always constant refinement. This isn't about perfection. It's about progress. And even as I teach this material, I'm still always making improvements to how I do my Monday map and the quality of my Monday map. Marcus commented on where he is with his Monday maps and how he's finding his groove with them.
I would say, though, they're more calculated. I am getting to where instead of just writing down everything, which I do, but I'm kind of grouping them, maybe either within the office or it may be things that, are in my personal life as opposed to work. And so I'm getting better at organizing my Monday maps than I was, because the first one or two that we did, it was just, all over the place. Just everything you can think of, write down. Well, that's what I did,
Yeah.
And there was no real organization to it.
I love it when people find their way with, like, I teach Monday map and part of that is the brain download. But the principle that's most important is to get everything out of your head and onto paper. Right. I think it's great. You kind of have buckets. It sounds like you dump from your brain into these buckets, so to speak. I think that's brilliant. During a sprint month, participants show up every day and say, did they accomplish the thing they did yesterday? Yes or no? And there's a checkbox. And then they talk about what's the lesson learned they're going to carry forward. And then they state the one thing they're going to get done that day towards the result that they want to create that month. And so Joey commented on that process of having to, you've done your Monday map and you're there on the call, you've scheduled your stuff. Did you or did you not get your stuff done? And so he commented on the process of doing that.
I've been in programs like this before where people would kind of rank how they did the day before or whatever on a scale. And I loved how you just gave it the clarity of like, do you give yourself a checkbox or not for saying what you were going to do the day before?
Sometimes there's like, is that the checkbox or not? But it's pretty black and white where everybody knows the answer is probably, if there's a question that you're going to get your checkbox or not, you probably didn't get the checkbox.
No, but those days where I didn't give myself the checkbox are probably the days where I learned the biggest lessons. And it also really helped me take the emotion and ego out of doing what I say I'm going to do, getting stuff on the calendar and following through. And I think that I have done that enough in life where when people are like, why did something get done or not done? Like every morning, most mornings, my wife will say, hey, like, did you feed our dog yet? Did you feed Mr. Feeney yet? And for the longest time, my gut reaction was like, I took him out this morning. I woke up earlier than you did. Like I'd be like, don't guilt trip me right now. Like I forgot. And I think it was actually during the month together when it really clicked for me that like she was asking a yes or no question. And all I had to say was like, no, I haven't fed the dog yet. And all other baggage, I was just adding to this fire that didn't really have to exist.
Oh my gosh, that's so true. That's true. Actually, because people will sometimes, when they have to answer, did they or did they not get the thing done that they said they were going to do, you will hear that if it's a no, you can hear it because they haven't even said, they're just giving you all this baggage before they say, so no, I didn't. So it's like, if you start talking, I almost know you're getting ready to say no because you're trying to justify and spit out that justification, which is fascinating. So it's so cool how quickly everyone gets in tune with one another. Cause I know I'm not the only one that thought that. If you pipe up with just a bunch of words, it's like, oh no, he didn't get it done.
No,
which is but as long as you learn a lesson. Yeah.
And you've done this for long enough so that when you see that and in your head, you're thinking they didn't get it done, you're skilled at this enough to know that like you saying that isn't a judgment that you're giving them. You're just like, you can give yourself, not a check for this. You're not being like, oh, this person is already falling off the bandwagon in week one. Like, right. I think that there's a sense of shame and embarrassment and like letting people down to this stuff when the truth is that it's the goal isn't to have all check marks or mostly check marks for like your daily tasks.
Mm-mm. It's just a mechanism to get you to do the work. And whether you do it or whether you don't, learn from it so that you can keep getting better and keep getting better at how you operate. That's it. And so, yeah, I don't have any judgment for people that don't have a check mark. What I do have, it's not even a judgment, but what like, this is where the hard pressing comes in, is if you don't have good lessons that you're taking away from your quote unquote fail, then that's where there's an issue, right? Like, what are we doing? We're just spinning. So it's more about the lesson learned as you move forward than it is about the perfection of getting a check every day.
Yeah.
We haven't talked a ton about the Friday wrap yet, but I got to tell you, it is small but mighty. And it actually used to be called Friday Close. I always called it Monday Map Friday Close. And one of the participants in the group, Walter, accidentally said, my Monday map and my Friday wrap. And I'm like, done. That is absolutely what we're changing the name to. So now it's known as the Friday wrap. And it's such an important piece, and it doesn't take long to do.
The Friday wrap to me is the Monday map is more, okay, these are things, this is in my mind. I got to get these out and put it on paper and then kind of make the plan. And then the Friday for me is kind of more the time where I kind of can sit back and look at my system that's set up to do that. Is like, okay, well, what did we accomplish? What did we not accomplish? Kind of look at our processes, my processes. Okay, how do I need to handle that differently? That's almost the critique of what I started on Monday, and then when I get to the end, I'm kind of critiquing myself, and kind of looking at it objectively and subjectively, and trying to say, okay, this is what we did well. We want to keep doing it this way, and then these are things to where, okay, let's, we got to do something different there. If I don't dedicate some time, at least over the weekend, to looking at it, then I could not really look at what I put down Monday and see what's working. Am I getting things off that list? Am I, did I do that in a timely manner? Did I plan accordingly? There's so many things that we do that I should know this ought to take me X amount of time. This ought to take me X amount of time. Little things like that. If I don't do what I do on Friday and kind of look at it and go, okay, that took me a lot longer or a lot less time. So now I can, if nothing else, just learning how to budget my time for things. And if you don't do the Friday wrap, you're not going to know the answers to any of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's...
Yeah. So you don't really grow if you don't do that.
I really stuck to the Friday wrap religiously. I still do. So that is like ingrained now. That is totally ingrained. Awesome. Monday map, I totally have stuck to that too, except I'm not 100% on putting everything on the calendar. I'm still tweaking that. So I'm just proud of like sticking to the Friday wrap because that helps me a lot. And the things that I got done and sticking to it.
At one point in a conversation with Joey, I got all riled up because I was essentially agreeing with a point that he made about how important it is that you stick with something. You do something. There's no perfect solution out there, but you have to commit to something. And I was like, amen. And so you'll hear a little bit of a rant that I had, just a passionate rant that I meant every word of, and I'm not going to try to recreate it here. I'm just going to play it for you. What I teach in there about Monday map and Friday wrap and honor your, those two things specifically, I do not think that's the holy grail. Like, I just don't. I think it's a great way to do things, which is why I have people do it. But it's more about create a next level for yourself. Like pick something. And I'm telling you, pick this. Like you're joining this. So you're picking this to implement. Do this. And once you do that for 6 months, a year, and then you get yourself, you're operating very differently because you've implemented that, then make changes. Optimize it for you, but you have to just go with something. You can't go with something for a week and then say, well, this isn't really working for me. I'm going to implement that. No, that's not how this works. You have to really just pick something and be all in for that thing. And eventually it's just second nature and that's just how you roll. You'll probably have some ways to improve it. Like, I don't think my Monday map and Friday wrap is like, it is the solution for Bill Gates and it's the solution for Joey Vitale and it's the solution. I think it's a great thing, but I'm teaching it to people who need something to implement to get themselves in a groove and in a flow and disciplined and all of that. Do it. And I will hold your feet to the fire for it. But then eventually, like, figure out what you need to optimize it. It really is about the lessons learned. That's what this month is for, is to learn these lessons. And there's so many times we can read these lessons in a book, but it's very different than actually learning it through experience. That's transformative. And that's what makes their lessons so sweet. When you hear what they're saying, you can count on the fact that this is not something they read that sounds like a good idea, something to abide by. No, they learned this through the challenges, the hard way. They learned it, and they learned it for good. You were talking about the Monday map, and you haven't nailed it in terms of calendaring everything and throwing away your list. Mm-hmm. What's funny about that is, what I love is that you should still see that as a win. Like, it's not, and one of your quotes is done is better than perfect, mm-hmm. which we hear a lot, but you actually learned that, for real learned that. And that's kind of an example. Like, you do your Monday maps and it makes a huge difference in your week. Is it textbook? No, but is that important? I don't know. Like, you still get a ton of value out of it, right? And not that you shouldn't I think it's cool that you continue to strive for it, because you'll keep tweaking and keep getting more optimized. But it does seem that's one of the big things that, when you talk about done is better than perfect, that's true in maybe everything,
because it's all a journey. And I think another one of my quotes talks about, like, action gives you clarity, blah, blah, blah. It kind of goes hand in hand, that it's in so many aspects in life, it's about starting and going forward, and answers will appear, and it's not necessarily going to be perfect the first time or maybe ever, but you can get closer and closer, tweaking here, tweaking there. And that's kind of what that really helps me and resonates with me, and it takes the pressure off. And so that's really why I was able to kind of get through those things I got through all that month. Were they perfect the first time? No. But now as I implement them, I go, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna tweak that right there. I'm gonna tweak that, but it's done. It's done. Yeah. Except for, okay, now implementing, and okay, maybe changing a little here, maybe changing a little there. So it's just all part of the process. And I think that's when I first heard that quote, like, done is better than perfect, it was like, yeah, because all of us type A's tend to be perfectionists, and that can really stop us from even starting.
Problems can be more easily put into perspective if you've taken the time to be organized. I just wanted to ask you, what comes to mind when you hear that me recite that lesson that you learned?
Yeah, and that was sort of getting into the, especially the Monday map, right? Is that I can end up in a state of semi-anxiety, right? About, okay, I've got to do all these things, but when you write it down and go, okay, how long is this going to take? Well, that's 0.5. This is an hour and a half. And you go, oh, wait a minute. Actually, I think I can get that done, right? So when you think of the totality of all the tasks you have to do, you go, I don't know how I'm ever going to get it done. And sort of forcing the process of, okay, well, what are the component parts, and putting some time elements on it made it seem less overwhelming.
Yeah.
Because then you could say, oh, I could do that. And you'd have the list and go, okay, I got a half an hour. What are a few things I can bang off the list?
Yeah.
That are going to be half an hour. So, that was a reminder that I had not been doing that with general tasks. And especially because every day you have to show up, and I go, okay, I got an hour and a half, I'm working on it. Well, how long is it going to take me? And it sort of forced me to say, well, if this is going to take 3 hours, and well, it's going to take 2 days then, because I'm working on it an hour and a half each day.
Yes.
So I think that took the edge off the assignment and just reduced the anxiety and the overwhelm associated with getting the task done by breaking it down that way.
Well, and that's
spending some time thinking about, well, not just kind of what the monkey brain is saying, because it just seems overwhelming. And I think through the process, if I spent time reflecting, my brain was making it bigger than what it was in certain circumstances.
Yeah.
Right. Certain tasks appeared to be harder or would take longer than they actually did when I stopped and try to be more realistic about it.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, in some ways, throwing yourself in the business and working harder, I think is kind of taking the easy way out. It's easy to keep doing what you've done. You're used to it. It's not that challenging when you've done something before to do it over and over and over again. But forcing yourself to take a step back and take a look at what you're doing and thinking what actually makes sense is higher, harder work. It's much more, I think, cognitively demanding to do this bit of self-examination. So it's not fun. It's difficult, but it's very much subordinating the short-term needs of like, do the work, do the grind, push through the day, at least feel like you got something done, for trying to think, what would my future self want? Where do I want to be a year from now, 2 years from now? How would it be different? Knowing that even if I get there, there's still gonna be problems. There's still gonna be things I'm unhappy with, things I'm gonna push on, but seeing the change and seeing the progress is what I want to do. Sometimes, there's this thing like lawyers talk about 20 years experience, but do you have 20 years of doing the same thing, same 1 year, 20 times? Or have you really developed yourself and built on an iterative process over time to get 20 years of actual doing new things? And like, that's what I want to get to a place where I feel much more driven and set goals, hit goals, and keep pushing past them.
You'll get to the result faster if you stick to the blue line, the plan. Say more about what the blue line is, or like what was in your head when you said that.
Sure. So the blue line is a reference to the line on a marathon, which the race organizers go and paint a line, often blue, sometimes yellow or orange, whatever, along the path that is the true 26.2. So surprise, I have run a marathon. I've got the medal to prove it because there's a lot of doubters. But if you run on that marathon line, you're running the true 26.2. When you are off of that line, you are adding distance to your path. Just sheer numbers, it's the fact. You're never cutting through it. They don't make it so that you can cut underneath it. You are always adding distance if you're not on plan. So it goes back to that same open field. If I don't know the path that I'm supposed to be taking, I am adding distance and effort to get to the goal. So when you have that plan down, you can look at it and say, this is the straightest distance to where I want to go. And you're more efficient on the 15th and 20th mile because you know where that path lies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you're stuck on something or there's something you don't want to do, take a step back and figure out what your thoughts and feelings are about it, and to create a different result.
This is one, I was just talking yesterday to a group that I think attorneys are resistant to checking in on all that, because most of the attorneys I meet have been probably trained to just stuff it down and keep on going. Like, just keep pushing. And there's a better way to experience the work. There's a better way to experience, I guess, your life is what you could say. I wanted to know what you had to say about this, especially knowing that other attorneys might be listening to this. And why was this important to you, and how might they start to think about this for themselves?
Yeah, and this is something I've sort of, I worked on with you and still working on, but sort of come more to realize that if you're doing something and doing something and getting the same result, there's something, or not accomplishing what you want, there's something going on. There's some reason why that's not happening. And instead of just working harder and throwing more effort at it, that doesn't really get you anywhere. There's usually some reason why you're not doing what you need to do to get it done. And that's not always obvious. Sometimes it takes a little while to think about why you're not doing it.
Right. And the reason, which I think this is what you mean, but push back on me or tell me where I'm wrong. The reason that it isn't getting done is not, maybe there's some external circumstances that you can shift around or change, but it sort of starts and stops with what's happening in your head. And is that what you mean? Like, there's a reason, it's like an internal reason. Maybe there's something you need to shift in how you're thinking about something, or I don't know if that's a language you would use, but
yeah, for me, a big one is, not consciously, but sort of the subconscious thought is that this is gonna really suck. I'm gonna get criticized for it. It's not gonna accomplish what I want to accomplish, and that may come from different places, but it's kind of driving not getting done what you want to get done.
what about I should be focusing on meaty results within my control?
Yeah. So I think it's really tempting and kind of lazy as business owners to, when we think of a goal or a focus for the day, to focus on something that isn't really in our control. Like, I want to make 10 sales today. Like, that sounds great. Number one, it's not super clear on what you need to do. But number two, like, you could do a lot of work and not see those results.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, in the program, we have those daily focuses and we give ourselves a check if we do them. That checkbox is totally out of your control.
If you're choosing
if you're
10
choosing
sales.
something, yeah, like 10 sales.
It's like the lead measure versus lag measure. Do you know about those?
No, but tell me more.
Oh, well, like lag measures you don't have direct control over. Lead measures you do. And so it's almost when you think of goals, you set a goal for a number of sales, like for the quarter or something. That's the lag measure, and that should be measured. But there's lead measures that need to be put into place, which are essentially, the way we think about it is, that's like the rocks. It's the thing that you can control 100%, and you think it's going to be the lever that you pull to get you to reach the lag measure. So yeah, so like maybe if you have X amount of referrals that you want for the quarter, then that's the lag measure. The lead measure would be 3 lunches a week with potential partners. And so, and it's called a lag because it's the thing that it lags behind the lead. Like it's the result of the lead. So you're going to see it later. The lead measures is what you can do now. Anyway, it's similar to what you're thinking about, or what you're saying, is that if you want to focus on things you have control over, in your day to day, which is so true.
Love that.
Treat your goal calendar the same way you'd treat a client commitment. I love that. I love the idea of having a goal calendar. I've never. You were the one that introduced that. Like, that was a switch for me when you said that.
Yeah. And again, it gets back to the comment of saying it's so easy to just be dismissive of our own goals, right? We'll set aside that for somebody else, whether it's a family member or a spouse or a client. We would, if you had to be in court, you would show up. If a client's in your reception area, you show up, right? But if you put an hour and a half in the calendar to produce something, or to spend time thinking, we're going to go, I'll do that tomorrow, right? Yeah, and you taught on that, so I mean, you really emphasized it, and it resonated with me to say that that's a bit of my issue of, it was just easy to miss the appointment.
Yeah.
Right. Which I would never do for a client. So it was really helpful in the group to say, okay, if you have a goal, obviously you have to be realistic. How much time do you have to do this? But get it on the calendar and then commit to it. Right. Don't set it aside. Because, for whatever reason, right. You just, if it's on the calendar, well, then you're going to show up and do it.
Yes. I mean, that is it. And it's been so fun to watch you and everybody in the group do that. Like you mentioned a little bit ago, there were a couple times when you showed up and you didn't have the thing done.
Right.
But it's not really about that. It is about that, but it's more about there were still some lessons that you took away from that and carried forward that made that worth it. Take the time to set up the groundwork and everything else is easier. That just feels like a truth.
That's important because, and again, it's tied in a bit with no pain, no gain, but it's really important that, sometimes we don't want to take that time, but it's like a miracle. It's like magic when you do and you set that groundwork up. It's amazing how much it frees your time up later on. Instead of constantly grinding to like either repeating yourself or not having a system or not having things set up smoothly. And then it's just a constant grind. So it's really kind of a freeing it's kind of a freeing experience.
Good processes beat bad clients.
One of the results of this process is I have said, I'm not interested in working with some more clients. The ones who hit you constantly over and over and over and over again. And you say, I can give you X time. And then they come back, where were you again? That's someone who's not enabling me to honor my calendar and is taking away from my other clients. So if I have a good process in place, I know when that client is not a good fit for me being able to honor my calendar to the other clients and obligations that I've got.
Oh, I love that. So it's almost like because you trust your processes that are in place. And so if a client can't, and they're reasonable and they're good. And so if a client can't stay within, if they can't fit your process, it's not worth it to you.
It's a detriment, not just to my stress, but to my other clients. And I've got just as much of an obligation to them as well. So if I'm working on your matter, I've promised that time to you. And if other client keeps chiming in and I say, I can give you this time, if that's not something they're willing to honor, they're not honoring my other clients. And unless I'm going to have one client, then I need to let them go and honor the ones that will help me make sure I can honor their time when it's their time.
Times of reflection are appropriate at the front end of a project. It's okay sometimes just to think and not produce.
Yeah, I am so much that way of I've got to see the end product. I've got to produce. And there was times I just had to sit and reflect and I just spent 2 hours thinking and I have nothing to show for it, right? Looking back in terms of the lesson learned but that was time well spent because it gave me clarity on what to do. I didn't produce anything. I didn't get anything done, but I spent thinking time. And I observed that going through the program. Right. That I think innately I'm looking for to I've always got to be producing something. I get hard on I get mad at myself if I'm not productive. Right. I mean, we're wired up that way in a law firm. You got to produce or you perish. Right. You got to get that brief out. You got to send out the draft will. You're always producing things and sending things, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, preparing a slide deck for a presentation, right? Whereas some of this stuff was just spending 2 hours thinking about how to deconstruct the project. That felt unproductive to me in the moment, but on reflection was essential. So I really took from that to say, I need time to think. We're in the knowledge, which shouldn't be a revelation to us because we're in the knowledge business, right? I mean, it's much like you got a complex legal problem. Sometimes you just need to sit and think about, I'm not sure what to do. I got to think about it. I got to break it down. That's our skill set. Yeah. That's why people hire us. But it's funny for my own projects, I won't do that. Or I feel like that's a waste of time, or I just you need to be busy doing something. So I really took that from the mastery group it sort of gave me the time to think because you forced it by asking the right questions, right? So I had to break it down and spend the time to think about it. And I think that was time well spent. So, and ultimately, if you're on the right path because you've thought it through carefully, it's efficient in the long run, right? You're not doing things which in hindsight become a waste of time. Right. Because you're more focused on doing the right thing.
Oh, you guys, these lessons are so good. And there's so many more. I just tried to share a bit of a taste with you of things that I thought would probably resonate. There's so many more good ones, though. Good stuff. Next week on the Velocity Work podcast.
Your unwillingness to invest in things that don't have 100% guarantee of working for you is what's holding you back in your business.
Of all these people out there that I see on Facebook who are searching for tidbits and what should I do and magic and oh my gosh, how do I do this? How do I do blah 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 blah, and they're reading all the what everybody has to say and absorbing all this knowledge. If they actually sat down and did like a June type of a thing, I just really feel like everybody would just be moving ahead.
tune in next week to hear the participants summarize what this means for owner attorneys out there and how this kind of work can start to shift things, whether you do it on your own or whether you do it inside of a mastery group's sprint month. If you'd like to learn more about the program that we are talking about in these episodes, go to velocitywork.com and hit the button that says free masterclass. That's the class that has all this content that is the backbone of mastery groups. So check it out. And if you're interested, you'll see a way to enroll for September, the September sprint.